Nobody's listening, right? Hi, Andy.
Hi.
I just said, how are you?
I'm pretty good.
Is anyone listening?
Yeah, this one's from Elisa. You asked and I answered. A child psychologist is listening.
Praise be.
It's like with schools of medicine. That's a school of medicine, right?
Yes.
Our school of medicine listenership is higher than we could have ever fathomed.
I mean, let's be honest, our listenership is
That's true too.
quite a bit.
But I'm more struck by the people in med school, the actual doctors.
The level of intelligence is the word I was looking for last week. I'm chuffed.
Oh, sure.
The British people say that.
You're chuffed.
I also fear that they listen to us going, these fucking idiots.
That's fine. I'm fine if they're listening with that in mind.
I am too. I welcome
Just
it.
let us know if we got anything super wrong. That's the thing.
Or super right.
Oh, that's
Would love
true.
to hear
So let's
that.
see what this says. Okay. I've been listening to this podcast for months and have been trying to decide when to leave a review. Finally, the perfect time. I'm a child psychologist. I'm going to do that over.
Come on, Andy.
I'm a child psychologist. Actually, I'm currently a PhD student finishing up my last year on internship, and I actually research ADHD and executive functioning.
Wow. Wow.
Thanks for that. I'm going to get rid of that too.
Okay.
So first, I've really loved listening to your perspective. Okay.
I kind of think you should leave all of this in.
I'll leave all of this in. I'm slipping. So first, I've really loved listening to your perspective as an adult with ADHD trying to navigate a late diagnosis and the often complicated treatment landscape. Also, I think it's great for kids' social skills to model A, problem solving in order to resolve arguments, and B, sarcasm and humor. In situations, it can be helpful to explicitly state to kids that you are joking after the joke is played out.
Great.
That gives us some relief over
I
here.
love that so much. Yes, huge sense of relief.
Yeah, because
This week's been a little fun and spicy between us, I would say. And
extra spicy, you mean?
golly, there's been a lot of family time lately, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say that.
It's been great. In fact, last night, thank you for that review very much. And anyone else who wants to leave them, please, by all means, do so. If we don't read yours, we still love it with all of our hearts. And
I want to explicitly say, too, there were some other reviews that really warmed our hearts. And also, I want to shout out the other people of medicine that left reviews on iTunes and Spotify. There were multiple this week, which
that is so cool.
Blows my mind. Thank you.
I also do want to shout out our Saint Monica, because a lot of people who have been leaving reviews were sent to us via her.
Bless.
And what was I going to say? Oh, and if you would like to support our show further, you can do so on patreon.com/nobody's listening right.
Nice.
Last night on the couch, we were watching Modern Family, which is I think a really fun family show. And for our kids' ages, we're kind of in a sweet spot with it where anything that's too sexual or has too much innuendo is over their heads.
I skipped. Were you around for the condom episode?
No.
You weren't. You weren't. You were gone. You were at dinner. I skipped through it, and they even asked what's that? Because they saw him fall out, and I just didn't feel like going there at all. So I just kind of fast forwarded.
Well, I appreciate you didn't go there, because that's a much bigger conversation. I think that now we need to start having these conversations with our kids one-on-one.
So I always save the Jimmy hat conversation for when they're a little older and together.
Well, and also it's a big conversation because it's I think whatever. We don't need to get into it.
I'd be all over here talking about the perils of raw dogging, and you'd be like, no, listen.
No. I also think it's really important to talk about sex in steps, and maybe you're a child psychologist. Now I'm a little self-conscious.
What are you self-conscious about?
Talking about how we're dealing with our kids and talking about sex and stuff, but explaining sex as a biological way that babies are made is different from the next step, which we haven't gotten to, is explaining that adults also do that for fun because it feels good. It's a way to connect. It's loving. / it also can be not good if it's not done, I need to figure out how the fuck to have that conversation first.
Yeah.
And I think that's where condoms come into play, because it's like, well, why would you need a condom if the point of it is to make a baby?
Right.
Well, honey, because...
it's also fun.
And I think it's important now to separate the kids when we have this conversation. Otis doesn't need to hear any of that. I mean, he's in a different stage. But anyway, last night on the couch, we were all kind of tangled together on our couch. And I just thought, oh my God, like, this is the best.
That's great.
Go ahead.
I was just thinking about condoms.
Yeah.
And how... I'll say it once and I'll say it again. My parents really drilled into me the importance of condoms growing up. And I am to this day still amazed at how many peers, friends I've come across that really had little to no regard for condoms, especially in high school and college.
I really appreciate that your parents did that. That is such an important thing. I also think so often the onus of not getting pregnant, and I know condoms are useful for a lot of other reasons, but is put on the woman. So I really admire that your parents made a point of hammering that in, because I think a lot of parents of just sons, especially if they don't have daughters, would kind of skip over that and be like, they'll figure it out.
What still blows my mind is, to me, as a hypochondriac-y, Jewish dispositioned person, the STD thing always kind of freaked me out regardless anyways, right? So that's a bonus for wearing condoms too. But
didn't you get one at one point?
I've gotten the clap. Yep.
What is that?
It's called chlamydia.
Oh, and that's a one and done situation?
Oh no, I'm kidding. I'm ride or die with that forever. I'm just kidding. No, you take some. Listen, you know what's the horrible ending to this is some med student writing in being like, actually, you do still have chlamydia.
And guess what, Elizabeth?
And you do too. No, from my God, now I'm sweating bullets. No, I took antibiotics and stuff like that for it.
And what were the symptoms?
Fired dong.
Okay.
But anyways, the STD thing, that always scared me. Don't want to get STDs. But you tell an impressionable, 15, 16, 17-year-old, you have to wear condoms too because you could get someone pregnant. To me, that's case closed. The idea of getting someone pregnant that's a big deal when you're that young. And I don't understand how that doesn't land for people.
For so many kids, it's not. And this is interesting that you're saying it, because I think for so many, especially young boys, the hormones are raging. You want what you want.
I get that aspect of it, sure.
It's in the moment, this feels good and I want to follow that. And I don't fucking care what's getting in the way. I feel like an animal thing takes over.
Yeah, sure.
So, and you kind of, you were a little bit of a punk. You were smoking cigarettes at 14. And
what's that have to do with this? I'm
saying that you don't actually fall in the demographic of a kid that I think would take that to heart the way you did. I think
wow, that's showing so much disrespect to cigarette smokers just now. You think that all these smokers, they don't bag it up.
No.
They're just raw dogging as they please because they're cigarette smokers? Do you hear yourself? Or a punk or a skater kid? I bet those skater kids all raw dogging. Take it all back. That's not fair.
Andy, I do think I'm painting a picture of you. First of all, you hadn't gone through puberty. You were this tiny little pipsqueak smoking cigarettes to the degree, I would smoke cigarettes at a party here and there, but I would have been mortified and devastated and in big trouble had any adult in my life known about that. It was something to be ashamed of and hide. And you did it so, like your school's principal called you Joe Camel, right?
That would be the soccer coach.
Okay. But like you had such a you were such a rebel.
So
that
you're saying I'd be a rebel against condoms.
Everyone accepted that about you.
But I was cool. Being a rebel against condoms not cool.
No, but it in a lot of cultures it is. Was. I hope not now anymore, but like there was definitely this, it doesn't feel as good, fuck this. I mean, there's this whole thing about assaulting women by putting the condom on, and women think that there's a condom and then they take it off. Like, don't act like there's not that culture.
Then don't put that on cigarette smokers is all I'm saying.
Okay.
I will acknowledge that.
I'm just going to say the Venn diagram between guys who are doing stuff like that and guys who are smoking to the degree at age 14 where their soccer coach is calling you Joe Camel is there's a big crossover.
I don't know about that, and I take umbrage. Is that right?
Sure.
I take umbrage with the fact that, let me just defend like skater kids for a second. You might see skater kids and be like, oh, they look a little punky and stuff. 9 out of 10 times, they're really sweet kids, though, is the other thing is what I mean?
Yeah. By the way, I mean, I hope it's okay for me to talk about this.
Probably not.
My my lens through which I see the world is constantly evolving, right? Mm-hmm. Like, as of last night, I firmly believe in aliens. We'll get to that in a minute. But
welcome.
If we have any non-human listeners, would love a review from you.
Or like 5,000. That's like you could do that in a blink of an eye.
Okay, so one of their big black eyes. So I'm going to tell this story.
Is it related to condoms and stuff?
No, it's related to like the way kids look and my judgments of them.
Okay. And you're going to look like the one with pie on your face in this story, right?
Yeah.
Great.
But I hope it's okay that I'm telling this story because it involves someone we love very much and respect.
I would change the names. The facts are true, but the names have been changed to protect the.
I don't know if that's possible, but here we go.
Interesting. Okay.
You work with young artists frequently.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you know where I'm going with this now.
Oh, yes, I do.
People come over to our home because your studio is actually where we are recording this right now. Mm-hmm. And this was probably about 5 years ago, pre-pandemic. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting on the couch and I see this woman walking up, and she is stunningly beautiful, but like I can't even see that yet because she's 6 feet tall, has like, this is pre-pandemic also, has kind of like a gag type mask on her face.
Yeah, like a leather bondage type.
She's wearing
mask thing.
Full bondage, like out, like walking down our suburban street. Yeah. Coming in. Yeah. And I rise from the couch so quickly because I was like, what is about to happen? What is about to happen? Because I was so judgmental, but not, I was more just like confused. And I was like, what is this person here about?
You couldn't put together, I'm sure you put together pretty quick that they're coming to work with me, right?
Well, no, it all happened so fast. Like, and she was confidently, you were walking down the driveway to meet her.
Okay.
I run out and I'm about to like intercept. Luckily you were there before that. And you almost like saw me. Yeah. And you go, Elizabeth, this is Romy.
Yeah.
And I overcompensated so much. It all clicked right then.
That's pretty funny.
And I go, hi, it's so nice to meet you.
Shout out Death by Romy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we can totally shout out Death by Romy.
So Death by Romy very quickly became one of our all-time favorite people.
Yeah.
We love her so much. She has one of the kindest hearts of anyone I've ever met.
Yeah.
Like her look is so incredible. And if you want to check her out and check out the music Andy's made with her, you can follow her on Instagram. It's Death by Romy.
Yep.
To the point where our daughter, who was 4 at the time,
Yeah.
Romy did our daughter's makeup the way Romy does her makeup, and we have these amazing pictures of it.
And our daughter has a love for Romy that goes deep. Like
So deep.
Yeah.
And so since then, like one time I was at the Americana and Romy was walking around with some of her friends, and I actually was sitting on the patio of the Cheesecake Factory, a wonderful establishment. And I was there with one of our kids. I forget which one, but looking very, Midwestern at enjoying my lovely time at the Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah.
And Romy walks by and I'm like, Romy. And I could see the people around me going, what does this fucking middle-aged Yahoo have anything to do with this person and her friends? And she has changed the way I see that whole style. And I think it is a little different today. I feel like kids are taught to be more sensitive and compassionate and kind, and like back in when we were growing up, if the really hardcore goth kids were a little scary, and I think also kind of wanted to seem a little scary.
I agree and I disagree, actually.
Okay.
I think that my heart wants to say that all goth kids of all generations are sweeter than you think they were.
Oh, I totally agree with that.
But yeah, I mean, that is, that's...
But, we have like neighborhood kids who are in a like thrasher rage band, and we hear it frequently.
Yeah.
Rah, rah, rah,
it does seem like also we live in a world, with my work, I'm working with people like Death by Romy, so we're seeing more goth people. We're going to goth shows and stuff, but it does, so we might...
I think that Romy would die if she heard you saying goth people, goth shows.
Oh, God.
We're so old. But that doesn't change, like, the music you're making here is incredible. But
oh, man.
The kids that we're identifying as goth, I think, have a whole different...
Yes, great point. But what I was going to say is I think that you might be right that we're seeing more kids that have a style similar to what we're calling goth.
Yes.
And God, this is horrible. I was nervous for what you were going to say. Then I was like, oh no, it's fine. You're talking about it. Now I am paralyzed that Romy's going to hear this. Do I send it straight to Romy? We'll see. I was supposed to, this is neither here nor there. But anyways, yeah, I don't know what to say, but I think it is a good lesson that really reinforces my cause. Some of the, teenagers that you would put in these skater boxes or goth boxes or smoking cigarette boxes as you do, they're having safe sex.
Okay. I hope that safe sex is, and I think it is, much more accepted and revered these days.
I think there's less sex going on with kids.
Well, I also think...
because of the porn. Haven't you heard that?
I didn't know that it was porn. I thought it was maybe just because... But maybe that's just where we live. Like, sex is not this taboo thing that, like, it's almost the thing of, like, in European countries, kids are drinking wine with their parents at 14, so they're not going to college and getting blackout drunk.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
Yeah.
So I'm almost like, is sex not happening as much because there's much more education, there's much more openness about it, there's maybe... But Romy and that whole experience has changed a lot for me. Also, in terms of our kids, one of our kids has an incredible sense of style, very unique.
Yeah.
It goes through lots of phases, but what it isn't, I'll just say it's our daughter, it's never been girly. You're not going to find our kid in a dress. It's changed the way, I was raised like, well, when you go to church, you're wearing tights and a dress. And for Easter or Christmas, you're in a dress. And I have never, I've just made the call. I'm never going to force them to wear anything that doesn't feel right to them. Yeah. Now, having said that, I do think it's important to find the more formal version of your style to show like respect for certain things. So we went to the pre-wedding dinner in St. Louis and found a very cool non-dress outfit for Teddy.
I think that's something I struggled with over the years. Even with you, sometimes there have been events where you've been like, you need to dress up more than you are. And I really like dig my heels in, sort
Yeah,
of.
why do you have
But,
well, it's gotten way less now, and I think
well, now I like being a dapper Dan.
Yeah, but I mean, back in the day, I remember there would be like, we're going to a wedding, and I'm like, you have to wear a tie.
Right.
And us getting into a pretty big argument about it. And I'm like, where does that come from? Because going back to the smoking kid,
Mm-hmm.
I don't get the sense that your parents foisted something upon you that you didn't.
No, I do. I think there were some of those moments of like maybe fancy things though of having that, like, you got to wear this thing and me not wearing it. I also associate clothes though. If I don't feel right in the clothes, it really like fucks up my equilibrium, almost, sort of my mental equilibrium. So much so that, like, the example I always use is when I worked at that job I hated in New York for years and years, and there was a dress code. I did have to wear a button-down shirt tucked in and whatnot. The second I would walk out of that store, that shit was coming off and going in my bag. I'm pulling my t-shirt out and I'm getting back to me. So there's something about clothes that, like...
I wonder if that's connected to ADHD.
I don't...
Like, maybe you have some sensory things involved with that or something. By the way, this is another place where I'm like, I want to talk about this also.
Yeah.
No one, like, I hated wearing certain things growing up, but I did it because it was respectful and it was expected of me and, like, not worth the, I guess, tension.
Yeah.
But I felt horribly uncomfortable in it.
Right.
So I'm like, that's not a unique to you experience, not necessarily.
True.
But I do think your reaction to me being like, you gotta wear a tie,
like,
back in the day was pretty, it was a big reaction for what seemed like a pretty basic kind of request.
Sure. Yeah, I think I'm extra sensitive to it. I think our daughter, in some ways, seems extra sensitive to it. Although I also think it's important that we lay down the law where it's like, no, there are times where at these functions, that's just the name of the game. And I think we're extra cool about it. Like, we can find your style to do it. But yeah, that's just like, you kind of have to learn that lesson, sort of.
There have definitely been like photo day pictures in the past. That I'm like, ugh. And actually, even our kid now is like, why was I wearing that? And also, why was I doing that in the picture? There's like this motion that was being done a lot at that time. So anyway, but I think it's really important to affirm kids and what style they want to be in and who they are, their identity, and also affirm that can shift and should change and, grow and evolve.
Yes. And cigarette smokers can have safe sex. Just say it once.
Cigarette smokers can have safe sex, yeah.
Thank you.
They can.
Okay.
If they ever chose to, they could. Okay. Wow.
Do you want to talk about aliens for a second?
Yeah.
We're watching Encounters, this new Netflix docuseries. Well done. High bar production
I think
value.
Very well done, yes.
Very well done.
Is Spielberg involved? I think Spielberg.
Will you double check is Amblin? It's produced by Amblin, Boardwalk, and Vice, which I think all three of those are pretty heavy hitters, right? It's Amblin.
Oh, and you go to Amblin, and the front main page is from.
But is Amblin Spielberg?
Is Amblin Spielberg? Yes.
Okay, good. Anyway, so Spielberg's people are sort of behind it. It's pretty wild. You and I really liked the second episode, which is about...
I liked the first two, but it freaked me out.
The first episode, I was like, this is kind of plausible, but not so plausible. But the second episode is about like some event that a bunch of kids saw some aliens in South Africa.
And it changed their lives forever.
And I'm fucking on board. I've always been pretty on board with aliens. We talk about aliens all the time.
I mean, which is interesting because this has kind of changed my worldview watching this. Now, we've established I'm easily swayed.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, you put any docuseries in front of me and I'm like, well.
Yeah.
But the thing that swayed me the most is that there was this Harvard psychology professor,
John Mack,
who went and interviewed all of these kids who were at school when there was this encounter.
Mm-hmm.
And he was truly the only adult who even was willing to hear their experience.
And not make the kids feel crazy.
And not make the kids feel crazy or not be like, no, you didn't see that. Shut up. And these kids, some of them are terrified. I mean, it has changed their lives to this day.
Yeah.
And as one of them said, it wasn't even the encounter. It was the after effect of realizing that they experienced this and no adult in their life would even entertain the idea that they did have this life-changing experience except for John Mack. He became ridiculed in the academic community.
Yeah, Harvard tried to take away his tenure.
Yes.
Unsuccessfully.
But I hate to say it, even my Lord and Savior Oprah Winfrey, who had him on her show, seemed to kind of poo-poo him. But the thing that really has shifted my perspective is someone said, why as a culture do the majority, not anymore, but many people are walking around going, there was this guy who came down and was God, and there was an ark, and there was a flood, and there was all of this magical stuff, make-believe stuff from this one book, or if that's your religion, or this other religion, or whatever the religion is. We accept that you can believe fucking anything.
That has no proof.
That has no proof whatsoever. No one's seen any of it. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
And we accept that. And if someone's saying this happened, we're not going, well, you're crazy. We're going, oh, yes, you're a really good person who's closer to God.
Yeah.
And then someone's saying, me and 60 of my fucking classmates experienced this, and we're all saying you're schizophrenic, you're absolutely out of your mind. That made my blood boil, and I think the way the kids were treated really upset me, and how at this point they're our age or older even, and I'm like, if it didn't happen, these people aren't still, sure, kids can have imagination play. Right. I mean, whatever. But as an adult, if you're still maintaining that, then I'm like, I believe this. And why does it seem weirder or more far-fetched than the idea of well, we die and we go to this magical place, or all of the religious dogma that we've been fed?
Right.
So I believe in it as much as I believe in anything else, which is to say, I mean, I believe that this did happen for these people. And similar to I believe people who have near-death experiences and went and experienced whatever it was and came back and are like, this was my experience. That's as real to those people as you and me sitting right here.
Right. And what I found so fascinating was the origins of John Mack getting interested in this, his kind of history in the profession. He set up Harvard psychiatric hospital. He did all these amazing things. And his curiosity with this type of thing was once he started interviewing people that had close encounters with aliens, he didn't find any mental illness with them. He was just finding trauma, signs of trauma. So he started wondering what is going on. And so he wanted to talk to a lot of people that had these experiences, which I think that's an interesting origin. And then when he went to this site to speak to 60 kids, and this is already, he's talked to hundreds of people with experiences before, just seeing how he interacted and his rationale for it, I thought was so pretty rock solid. I bet there's people out there that are like, oh, you didn't know though that John Mack did this or whatever. But what the documentary shows, I was really impressed by. His thesis is great.
Yeah, totally. And but last night, like shifted my whole, and I also want to say, we're talking about trauma and stuff. Like for kids to have this unknown thing happen could be scary, but
Yeah.
for some people, it's been described as like a very peaceful or great experience. And the message that seems to be being sent over and over is like, take care of Earth, you know, basically like you guys are fucking up your planet and you need to do better about that, which also, how many years ago was this? 50, 40? That wasn't even kind of on the radar yet, like climate change and all of this.
No, climate change was then. That event was in the 90s, and that was the first big wave of climate change.
No, but back then it was like, oh, I guess it was, but it was like ozone layer.
No, but it was
not
also
really. I don't think it was.
I think you're underestimating. There was a bigger wave than you think.
Okay.
When you think of, was it John Kerry or who was do you know who I'm talking about?
Al Gore.
Al Gore. Yeah.
So I didn't realize it was 90s. Some of that footage made it seem like it was.
We're fucking old is what's the deal is.
Yeah, that's the deal. So, but so I wake up this morning and I'm like, I now believe in aliens. And it's a big thing to take on because it's like, it's already been, it's hard enough getting through the world. Just like, are there ghosts? Like, what's all this spiritual stuff? And now I'm piling aliens onto it.
So you haven't like
I haven't.
We've talked about aliens so much.
I know, but it's all been like, it's almost the same as ghosts, where I'm like, I believe that.
I thought you believed in ghosts.
I do, but I don't. Like, I do, but
God.
I do for other people, kind of like it's out there. And I wanted to ask you, last night watching that, were you kind of like, oh my God? Because I was thinking this, now that I am a believer, are they going to come to me?
Oh, I think everyone watching the documentary is worried that by watching the documentary, they're going to come to absolutely. I don't think you can watch the documentary without having those thoughts. And let's also be very clear. There is one story in the documentary where a lady gets taken on the ship and her belly button gets probed, which is ultimate nightmare. And also made me wonder, is that what's happened to me before? Is that why my belly button's so sensitive?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we had a lot of nobodies reach out and say theirs is too. So maybe
we've all
you're
been
the chosen ones
on the plane. So that I don't like. I don't like any of these like creepy stories.
But what
about
I
the
don't
aliens.
believe in is Nordic blondes.
Why?
I don't believe that there are aliens amongst us, because the encounters that seemed to happen felt like they weren't integrating with us.
But
it was very much like they're like sussing things out.
You're under the assumption that there's just one type of alien. There's the idea that you're ruling out Nordic blondes is ridiculous to me. It's crazy.
Nordic blondes being something we talked about last episode, just in case anyone's listening going, what the fuck are Nordic blondes? And then I also want to retract, I think, tens and tens of episodes ago, and you got all excited when I was like, everyone's like, aliens are coming from the sky. I think they're coming from the water. I now think they just kind of come from the sky.
It could be both. Why are it's like you're in some ways your mind is opened up because now you're like, I really believe.
Now I have more information.
No, but you need to, I think it's all so possible. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It did make me think, though, some of the kids, there is this theme, especially at this one incident, of like the aliens are like, yes, you're fucking up the planet. Be careful. Technology is bad.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we really are parasites. Like, we are the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We're fucking shit up.
I know.
Every which way.
I know.
It's not natural.
It's not. But that also, I feel like there are a lot of technological advances that are so beneficial.
Give me one.
And I think you can say we're parasites, but we matter too. Like, I do believe there's something more than us, both in the alien realm and in the spiritual realm, and maybe they're more together than we realize.
Okay.
what I'm trying to say is like I think our feelings and like kindness matters and those moments of awe matter and
Mm-hmm.
like how you affect other people matters. I don't think we are truly just parasites who are here ruining things. I think we
But
also matter. And there's so many medical I mean, I had my mammogram yesterday and I was talking to our kids about it because they were like, what was that?
mm-hmm.
And talking about breast cancer and how if you catch it now early, your odds of survival are incredibly high and way higher than they used to be because
Yeah.
of technology
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
advancements in medicine. So technology obviously is a double-edged sword,
Right.
but where was I going with this?
Can I stop you right there and be
Mhm.
like really dark devil's advocate that I don't even believe in?
Sure.
But if I'm an alien,
Okay.
this is an alien that has this particular belief. These are not my beliefs.
Will
Okay?
you talk like an
Yeah.
alien?
Did you get it?
Well, I wish what you had done is just looked at me with daggers
Telepathic.
because
Yeah.
apparently they don't talk.
No, but go on this ride with me for a second. Yes, what a cool technological advancement that you have this tool to detect this breast cancer now, and that much more of you humans with this particular disease are now surviving. But you know what, humans? This seems to be your end with so many things. You want to live longer. You don't want to be sick. You want to have more food than everybody else. You want. And in that pursuit, while some of these things you are getting this benefit that you're living longer, most of that pursuit is hurting other things on the planet, hurting other species, hurting other resources. And I'm sorry, humans, you were supposed to get sick and die like all the other animals and species on this earth. You are messing the flow that has been for billions of years.
Yeah, like it's the planet that matters, it's not you.
Right, where we're only seeing it through this lens of like, yeah, but it's good. Now we're living longer, where they're like, you're not supposed to live longer.
Let's tread lightly with that when you're using specific examples of breast cancer.
Right. So let's not use, you know what I mean, though.
Well, I don't like the example with the cancer of it all.
Okay, sure.
But I do hear what you are saying. I mean, there's one example of there's this obsession right now with like living longer. And I just watched the Blue Zones documentary. I've been doing a lot of TV watching lately.
Yeah.
About, these specific communities that seem to have way more centenarians than other places. And what is it about those places? Really interesting. And even these billionaires, I feel like, are obsessed with longevity. It's like this new coined, not newly coined, but this new, what's the word I'm looking for? Trendy term of like, I'm a longevity expert. Something we never heard 10 years ago.
Although people were freezing themselves in cryogenic 10 years ago.
Yes, I guess it's always been, but I think for like billionaires is kind of the final thing you can't buy.
Sure.
It's this thing that it seems for some reason they're all kind of obsessed with. And the truth is, if all of us are living into our hundreds, that's a problem for our society. Like, we don't have the infrastructure to support lives that long. There's not the I mean, if retirement age is still 65, like financially, it's going to be such a burden on the younger generations to, it's all of these things where it's like, sure, you can want that, but as a whole, like it's going to put things out of balance and out of whack.
Now, if the alien is saying all that kind of stuff to us, right? My rebuttal, though, would be like, but alien, from everything we've heard from other people that have seen you, your technology is, we can't even fathom how amazing it is. So what the fuck are you talking about?
What if he's like,
whoa.
Did you get that?
Yeah, I got that.
What did I just say telepathically to you?
You basically were like, you kind of gave me all of the information.
I know, but what was the information?
it was like, you'll never understand. This is so much bigger than you. You will never understand it. Like, but we messed up ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh
I know.
my God.
I know. And they're coming back like with this hope,
Yeah.
Don't become
Yeah.
us.
We're what's that called? Where it's like learn from our mistakes. We're a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in great news, I won't be watching as much TV anymore, hopefully.
Oh, the strike's over.
strike's
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hopefully you'll just be making TV, not watching so much.
Yeah. But it's really funny because the strike, once it ended, we've been told over and over, like, now, once it ends, it's going to take a while to ratify. Like, you're not going to be off to the races. And in fact, I mean, the night that we heard that there was a tentative deal, we basically were like, and now you can work.
Yeah.
And so I feel like all of us are like, like, I'm supposed to be working now. And it's very, I think, feels a little overwhelming, which you saw coming.
Listen, I've seen this coming for weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
I'm prepared for some pretty dark Elizabeth emotional days that I'm going to be there to hopefully help you with, hopefully dodge when I need to dodge.
Yeah.
Support when I need to support.
Because now we're all thrust into this, like, it's part of the gig. We all experience this. You get spat out of a show that you're doing and the season ends. Ideally, you take a few weeks to bask in the glow of having done it and relax. Then an anxiety starts to creep in of, oh, what if I never work again? What's next? No one wants me. Everyone else is working.
Yeah.
And right now, even though not everyone else is working, but I actually was feeling very kind of chill about things. And I'm really lucky that, well, I'm knocking on wood because I actually don't know for sure yet if this pilot I was working on is still alive. Well, I should find out soon.
Yeah.
But I at least have something kind of to get back into.
Yeah.
And I'm not like freaking out about staffing on a show right now. But so the Writers Guild had this big kind of celebratory and also going over the points of the deal meeting at the Hollywood Palladium the other night. And I was in line to get in. And the guy behind me was talking to this woman. And she's like, so were you in a room? And he's like, yeah, we start Monday.
Right.
And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So people are working.
But those are people that were on shows that got put on pause.
Yes. Of course.
Yeah.
And I think it's just this natural thing that is normal for me and other writers to be feeling, even though it's like, of course, this is going to take some time. There aren't going to be as many shows or writers' rooms up and running immediately.
Sure.
And it does feel like every single writer in Hollywood right now wants, all 11,000 of us want
a
job. So the competition is stiff. So I just need to have patience and trust in the universe.
And be ruthless.
Oh, no.
Do you know what I mean? Ruthless.
The truth is you can't do anything about it. You hope that you have a support system set up, which I do. My agent, Stephanie Dillman, is the fucking best. And I feel very, like, I know without question she's doing what she can do for me.
Yeah.
And I just have to trust the next place I end up is the right place for me to end up, no matter what. So I'm trying to be chill about it, but it's hard. Yeah.
Did you ever have unprotected sex as a teenager?
Yes.
Are you serious? Sorry for that segue. It just popped in my mind.
I was on birth control, though.
But you were raw dogging in high school?
I don't want to talk about it.
Were you, though?
I don't know.
You know.
I don't
You just
know.
answered that question. We can move on.
I'm
a little disappointed
I honestly don't
in you.
know.
I don't know why. Me having the,
You had chlamydia.
The perfect 2-year captain of the cheerleading team. Does she practice safe sex? No, but that little
yes, I
delinquent
did.
skater punk smoker does.
Well,
Do you see the hypocrisy?
But do you also know like the messaging I received was so different from the messaging you received. And me being on birth control, I thought, I mean, that was a huge thing for Catholic me to go figure out how to get on birth control. So I thought I was having safe sex. And I think I was. It wasn't a lot. I mean, if indeed I did, it wasn't like
I
the
guess if
norm.
you were on the pill, how did you get on the pill? Did you talk to your mom? There's no way you asked your mom to get on the pill in high school.
No, I don't remember how I did it. I think I talked to my doctor.
Okie dokie.
I was, though. I was very much on the pill.
So you hid the pill from your mom?
Maybe my mom did know, and maybe I chalked it up to like
Skin.
irregular cycles, cramps, whatever it was. And she probably knew. That's the other thing. Like, there was a lot of that in our family.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, in some ways, I think, well, I've told this story about I had this huge house party.
Yeah.
My house happened to be like on the corner of a lane and then a pretty busy kind of thoroughfare street.
Yeah.
So it was very visible.
Yeah.
And we had like an 1.5 acre yard. And so I had a party, and also, not to brag, but I had a lot of friends in different schools because of doing dance and like having other, so it was like a lot of friends.
Wow.
And the party became massive. I mean, out of control.
Right. And your mom was in the house.
My mom was in the house. She knew I was having some friends over.
So you think she just turned the other eye?
She told me, go, if you see any alcohol, like you can do this, but there can be no drinking. If you see any alcohol, I want you to bring it to me. So like every 45 minutes, I would come in with a 6-pack of Zima or 4-pack and be like, Mom,
okay.
I found this. And the cops came, obviously, and she goes out in her little tiny nightgown.
Mm-hmm.
Not, her nightgown wasn't tiny. She was a tiny person. She was a small lady.
It's like a teddy she was wearing or something?
She wore these like beautiful but very kind of like Little House on the Prairie, nightgowns.
Oh, okay.
I'm probably making up that she was in her nightgown. I don't really know. But she went out and was like, officer, in her southern voice, like, everything's okay. There's no alcohol here.
She talked to the cops?
And the cop did his flashlight to the yard, and it was just silver from all of the Bud Light cans or a few kegs at different parts of the yard. And like, I didn't even really get in trouble for it. It was,
wow. And she didn't get in trouble?
no, because,
Oh, God.
Nice
Privilege.
family. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So privilege. So surely she knew. I wish I could talk to her now.
Yeah, to find out that stuff, sure.
For
yeah.
so many reasons.
Yeah. But high on the list, did you know why I was on the birth control pill? And did you know how much we were, drinking at that party? Did you know I got fingered at that party? All that kind of stuff. Yeah. I get you.
Oh,
we had, my folks were, I think they knew a lot of what I was up to, but I also got away with a lot that they didn't know I was up to. Mm-hmm. But we had, I had a friend whose parents definitely knew, like, we were drinking at the house. And I have a feeling that they kind of were more comfortable knowing it was going on as long as it wasn't getting out of control. Like, there were a few of us than us being somewhere else.
Right. I think that if you and I were raising our children in St. Louis or like a kind of more old school conservative place, we would be those parents. I have a friend who were those parents, and it was kind of an unspoken understanding between us. It wasn't like, you kids, I want you to drink here, so we're going to stock up with whatever. It was just like, here's a spot for you to be that we're not going to get in your hair. And we can kind of keep track of who's here and make sure no one's driving and all of that stuff. But I think, honestly, that's the right way to be in that culture. Now, here, I think it's totally different where it's, I mean, I hope to introduce these things to our kids in a way that teaches them responsibility around it. I mean, we, just as your parents drilled in condoms, which we will too, I want to drill in, you do not get into a vehicle with someone
Yeah,
who
that's a
has
really good
been
one.
drinking. The rate, I just read something about this, like teens are so much more likely to die in car accidents, teen drivers. And then where did I see this? It was something about, it was really interesting. They did like a study, and I'm going to fuck this up, but if a teen is driving by themselves, it's exponentially safer than a teen driving with a friend, because teenagers with friends in the car, there's almost this pressure to not abide by the rules as much, to like speed and seem cool
Okay,
if
sure.
you're whatever.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's, and teenage drivers are more likely to be killed. And then friends in cars with teens in cars with teenage drivers are more likely to be killed.
Say that last one.
Teens in cars with teenage drivers are more likely to be killed. Those are
Right.
like the two demographics that have the highest fatality rate. So I would encourage them to not get into a car even with their friends without,
The problem with it is, so I agree. Oh, I agree completely with you're saying about the drilling those lessons in, but the like drinking, like letting kids drink when they're younger, like on your watch. I don't know if I agree with that though, because I also know of a incident that happened when I was younger of like a parent that I think was aware of it going on, and then one of the kids having to go to the hospital for alcohol poisoning.
oh God.
Because it's
And
like,
that's true. Like
because
the
it's like you can never,
liability
the
of,
liability,
yeah.
not only the liability, just like you can't, it's so hard to like, if your teenager, if you or me are like, yeah, we're just having this 6-pack, and we're like, okay, there's more than a 6-pack, and like I get so scared about that stuff. But I think like letting our kids have like a beer with us when they're in high school, when we're at the cabin as a family, like introducing alcohol like that,
Yes, totally.
or a celebratory thing, I feel okay with. Well, I mean, we're years away from this, but
And not too much also. That's the other thing, is like teaching moderation in
Yeah.
an organic way. Obviously, these are still kids. Their brains are developing.
yeah,
We don't want to like fuck shit up. But I will say, if I had been 15 and had been allowed to have like a half glass of wine at dinner, and it had been introduced in kind of a civilized manner
right.
instead of this party culture, and I think it's more pervasive in the Midwest. Like, I feel like drugs are more a thing here, and for some reason, like just fucking pounding beers, it feels like a very Midwestern
Yeah,
thing.
it'll be interesting to find that out. Yeah, but like kids in New York that grow up, like cocaine is a much
But
bigger
we're
thing
obviously
than,
not going to introduce cocaine to our kids. Like, we're not
No.
going to be like, here, honey, I don't know how to.
Well, I don't think parents in New York are introducing the cocaine.
I know, but I'm like, how do we kind of have the same approach?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, we'll just
You
have
know,
to see it. Listen, all that being said,
talking
you and I
about
both
it.
drank a lot in high school.
Oh God.
I was smoking cigarettes. You were having unprotected sex. We turned out okay. Do you know what I mean?
I sometimes I'm like, how did we make it?
That's the gamble and ride of youth, right?
Well, I don't know. I don't love the word gamble when we're
The
talking
odds
about
are-
our kids,
Yeah.
obviously.
Don't do drugs.
Well, I truly think like a lot of the excess alcohol drinking and stuff and sex and unprotected sex came from this abstinence. We don't talk about it, like turning a blind eye. It's not allowed. Kind of, if you get caught, you're fucked. Like ideology. So I'm like, I don't even know if that's the right way to go with drugs.
Yeah.
I think it really is important just to talk about things with our kids. Now it's like fentanyl is in drugs.
Right.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever you're taking could kill you, and it does so tragically kill people.
I heard on the radio yesterday, they were just talking about the like the Latin community in California. I think it was just California, but something like the fentanyl overdoses have gone up 700% in the last few years or something crazy.
Oh my God. It's so sad.
but-
And it's so I think it's just educating and giving information that will hopefully, and we raise them and hope that they make good decisions. And it's just like, I know my parents did their best raising me, and I still made really reckless decisions that I just like, and obviously you did too, just lucked through. So I hope that we give our kids better tools. And I think the only way we really can do that is by having much more open communication, talking to them more about things, like giving them true information and
Right.
hoping.
I would much rather, and I don't know if this is the perfect advice, but have the conversation. Hey, I know you're going to the party tonight. I know you and your friends have been eating weed gummies lately. We know that's going to happen. Like, just take it easy on that stuff, and like, promise me if there's any other sorts of drugs that could be laced with stuff, like, you cannot do. It's just not worth it.
Right.
We know you're going to experiment with some stuff, but don't. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Fuck, it's stressful.
Also, a spaceship might come visit you. It's real. You're gonna think it's just the drugs you're on, but it's actually real. And we'd love to know what they're telling you about technology. On that note,
Good night.
good night.